Alright, there's three types of equations you're going to see today. One, you just dealt with it. Y equals a over x, a divided by x. It's a rational function. It's simple. The next one you're going to deal with is this one right here. So I would write this one down. It is still a simple rational function, even though it looks, more complicated. But here's all it does is a over x turns into a over x minus h, and then the plus k out here. So this is now a translation. So it used to, look like this, and then if you add an h and a k, it's going to move it right or left. It's going to move it up or down. Notice this picture right here. So it moved it to the right so many spaces. The y-axis used to be an asymptote, right? The y-axis is an asymptote. It moved it over 1, 2, 3, however many it was, and then it moved it up. So if I just change h and k, I can move it up, down, left, or right. Alright, so here's so you can type that in your calculator. Be careful, use parentheses. But here's the steps. Number one, draw your asymptotes. Now here's what your asymptotes are. X equals h, that's your horizontal. It's always x equals, vertical. Vertical is your x equals, whatever number this would be. And then your horizontal is y equals whatever this k is right here. So whatever this number is, put it here. Whatever this number is, put it here. And those are your two asymptotes. Vertical, horizontal. Next, put in your calculator and then plot points. So, okay, you got to calculate. Oh, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point. Draw your branch. Here's a point, here's a point, here's a point. Draw your branch. Get closer and closer to those asymptotes. That's why you want to draw the asymptotes. Okay, so you get closer and closer to those. Lastly, yeah, that's what I was doing. Draw the two branches after you plot some points. So, those are your steps. Also know how to find domain and range. Okay, we'll get to one of those. We'll talk about it. Alright, let's get to a problem then. Example 2. So we're looking at this thing because it's not just a over x anymore. It's a over x plus 2 and then a minus 1 on the end. So what can you tell me just by looking at this right here? H off to the side. H is equal to, remember it's x minus h, so x minus negative 2. So negative 2 is h. What about your k? It's whatever this is. So plus k, there's a minus 1. So k equals negative 1. I'm just writing my h and my k. What does h and your k get you? Get your asymptotes. So you could say my asymptotes are x equals h, which is negative 2, and y equals k, which is negative 1. This is your vertical asymptote, VA, and this is your horizontal asymptote, HA. There you go. That's key. Alright, now, step 2, you can type this in your calculator and get your coordinates so you can draw your branches. I'm going to draw a rough sketch at the moment just to save time, but I'm going to put this on there. What is x equals negative 2? 1, 2, it's x equals, so I'm going to draw a line like this. There's my vertical asymptote. Horizontal asymptote, y equals negative 1, so we go to negative 1 and go this way. I know my branches are going to stay within these two asymptotes, okay? Now here's the other tricky part. I mean, if you put this in your calculator, you'll see what happens, but I don't need a calculator to see that. Since a is negative, what did I tell you before? If a was negative, it puts them in the different quadrants, right? It used to be first quadrant and fourth quadrant, but as soon as a is negative, it puts it in this quadrant and this quadrant. So I'm going to draw a rough sketch. It's going to look like, there's a branch here, and we'll just say this is a branch here. You're going to see something like this in your calculator. And this looks confusing, but hopefully you're following along. This is your y-axis, here's your x-axis, here's your asymptotes, here's your branches. Okay? Try to make them a little darker here for you. Now, hopefully that helps. What else? It says graph. So I made a rough sketch. What I want you to really do is get a point, get a point, get a point, draw your branch, get a point, get a point, get a point from your calculator, draw your branch. Okay, so don't give me rough sketches on any homework I give you. Let's do this. Now, here's the last part. State domain or range. How do you find domain? Basically, you look at your x. What could x be or what could x not be? In this case, here's x plus 2 down here. We know, or you should know, that the denominator can't equal 0, right? So we could just do this off the side. Okay, x plus 2 can't equal 0, so x can't equal, move that over, negative 2. If x was negative 2, you'd be dividing by 0. Can't happen. So, set that equal to 0. X can't be negative 2. So domain could be anything, so all real except x equals negative 2. Your range, how do you do your range? So domain deals with x, range deals with y, but here's how I do it. The trick, here's a easy trick for you. But look at the range real quick. It goes up, all these values go up, all these values go down. So it covers a wide variety. It goes up, it goes down, so it could be all real numbers, but notice this. What does it depend on? Your asymptote. It never touches here. What is here? Y equals negative 1. So, range is everything, all real, except negative 1. Okay? Now here's the deal. Here's the trick. Domain deals with your vertical asymptote, what x is. So basically, for these rational functions, it's always going to be this. All real except your asymptote, right here. See? The range is all real except your horizontal asymptote. There you go. See? That's what it deals with. So that's the trick. So if you don't understand me looking at this and doing it, that's okay. Remember the trick. Alright? There you go. There's example type number 2.